Well, welcome back to Dan Foley and myself, Kelvin Bergston, today on our blog in relationship to the Abundant Life Training Center. And we've been delighted to have you, and hopefully, we've got a compelling topic for you today. We're going to keep it single and simple. But today's topic, we want to kind of go into uh, back in our Abundant Life Training Center program that we just finished up here just a few minutes ago. We were talking about nutrition, and just the last 2 days were just things God had shown Dan um, through coding and different things about how food and how it relates to us and how it comes out of the scriptures to relate to us. And it was really a lot of fun the last couple of days, Dan. I just thoroughly enjoyed that. But what I want to kind of talk about today is something that kind of came out of all that. And I think it's simple, but it's single ingredient foods. How many times, Dan, do we get caught up in opening a bag of chips or getting a granola bar or getting, and some of them are healthy, some of them are not so healthy. But but when you kind of look at fruits, vegetables, meats, and stuff like that, they're 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 single. They're an ingredient. And how can we kind of keep them that way? Because in the long run, that is the best design for feeding our body is a plant or an animal that was grown. And so just wanted to talk a little bit about that today. And just here recently, I've had a little bit of success. And a portion of that success was that I went and started decomplicating my food. And I just started, if I was going to have eggs for breakfast, I was going to have some meat for breakfast, or for lunch, I was going to have like a lunch meat or something like that. And, I like getting those carving blocks of, out of Oscar Mayer where they have just ham or chicken or turkey, things like that with as little other ingredients as possible. And I just started building my plate that way. And I found, Dan, that after about a week, these cravings that I had been having for either sugar or processed foods like chips and different things like that are highly processed, they just seemed to subside. They kind of went to the wayside. And then 2 weeks in, I was finding myself very easily making these choices without being distracted. And, I started noticing that my body composition was changing. And, I'm in my late 60s. And I even noticed, and after now 4 months of being where I'm at, I'm noticing that I'm getting stronger. I mean, it's showing up in the weight room, it's showing up. I noticed that I've lost inches, but it's been pretty simple. It's been pretty simple. But, just there's much more to it than this. But we wanted to just focus today a little bit on the single ingredient of what that can do for us.
Yeah, and so I've been helping people with their health and fitness for I don't even know, 20 something years, and been fortunate to have been able to help a lot of people. And when it comes to nutrition, we talked about this with our group that we're coaching. People tend to make it too complicated. They tend to make it too complicated, and we want to simplify it. Nutrition has become a stressor for a lot of people these days, and we just want to simplify it, make it easy. And I think there's three important things to remember is that the quality of the food you're eating, makes a difference. The portions of what you're eating, so the amount of what you're eating makes a difference. And the timing of when you eat things all make a difference. And so some people will say, oh, just eat the right things only. It doesn't matter how much. Well, that's not true. Some people will say, just eat the right amounts and it doesn't matter what you eat. Well, that's not true either. And so the quantity, the quality, and the timing all play a role in the results that you get. But I would say out of all those three, probably the quality is probably the most important thing, especially for your health, because there's a lot of processed stuff out there. And so one of the things that I've seen is that when people start cleaning up their nutrition and just simplifying, getting back to real food, less processed stuff, more just simple real food, the way God created it, that a lot of times people will start losing some weight, a lot of times, and a lot of it's just it comes off real quickly. I think it's inflammation, where the body just gets inflamed from some of these things that maybe it's not used to eating. Maybe it wasn't designed to eat some of these things. Um, and so I just think simplifying it, getting back to real food makes a real difference. And this is not something, let's call it like it is. Most people have probably heard this before. Uh, it's something that most people have probably heard, but doesn't mean that they're doing it. Doesn't mean they're executing it consistently. And so I think there's a disconnect these days. Most people fail to do what they know to do. Is one of the things I see. People know a lot of times know what to do, but they struggle to take action on it. And so I don't know. I wasn't planning on talking about this today, but why do you think that is? What causes us to know some of these things to do, but maybe struggle to implement it? And what do we need to do to get on track of start implementing things that we know to do?
Well, Dan, I felt like I lived that a long time.
Mhm.
And I think where I got sidelined the most was sometimes I'd stick my toe in the water and think I was doing it, like swimming, you know. I would just kind of test it, or
Mhm.
I would do some of it, but I wasn't doing enough and didn't even know it, just going along,
Yeah.
and, for me, I've watched the last 10 to 15 years where certain areas when I go get a physical were creeping out of the great range into the good. Then I saw a few of those areas creeping out of the good into the wait a minute. And a couple of years ago, I even hit the bottom of my one A1C.
Hmm.
And I'm sitting here going, oh my. And so what I had to do was just kind of back up and go, wait a minute. If I look at what I've been doing, and I'm thinking I'm doing pretty good, but obviously it's not. And I look forward to where I'm going. If something doesn't change today, I can expect the same results. And so, what I had to look at, and it really clicked together this last April, Dan, and it was kind of some of our conversations, and it was the things I've learned with you over the last 8 years about building a plate on and off all that time was the simplicity of it, Dan.
Hmm.
But you got to kind of be all in. You got to kind of say, hey, am I willing and wanting, is it a time for me at this time in my life to say, hey, I want to change a course of where I'm going, or I want to change how I feel, or I want to change how much stronger I can get. And so what really boiled down was I just fundamentally punted on what I was doing and just started applying the simplistic ways of just saying, hey, I'm going to start with some single ingredient foods. When I eat breakfast in the morning, I'm going to keep it very simple.
Hmm.
When I eat lunch, I'm going to keep it simple. when I eat dinner. I'm going to put a nice piece of protein on my plate. I'm going to put some single ingredient vegetables on my plate.
Yeah.
And it just was that start to say I'm all in, that eventually the habit started taking over. And then eventually 25 pounds dropped off the scale. And it was the most effortless time I've had doing it. But I finally just said, hey, something has to change. And doing it part way or some way, or just dreaming about it wasn't working, or thinking about it. I call that wishful thinking. Wishful thinking just don't work.
Hmm.
I hope this is making sense. I'm not trying to make anybody mad or do anything
Yeah.
like that. I'm just trying to say, hey, there's a place we can go that's fairly simple
Yeah.
if we want to change.
Well, it's interesting. Before we got on today, I said, Kelvin, what do you want to talk about? And he said, well, I think I want to talk about single ingredient foods. And I said, that's interesting. I felt like, I was seeking God. What are we talking about today? I felt like he was talking about single-minded faith. And it's like, oh, we're both talking about simplicity and making things single. And so I think one of the issues, I'm gonna tie this together for us, hopefully here. Simplifying your nutrition and your faith. The Bible tells us that a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways, can't expect to receive anything from God. Okay. It also talks about you're like a person who's tossed about by the waves of the sea, by every doctrine and wind. Well, I think what we see a lot of times these days, especially when it comes to nutrition, there's so many theories, there's so many different ways of doing it out there. People get tossed around back and forth and they don't know what to do. They know what to do, but they bounce around from one thing to the other. We've both done it, so no judgments because we've done it too. Uh, but simplify it. Simplify your nutrition. Get back to the basics. Build a balanced plate of real food. Get that consistently. Simplify your faith. Simplify your faith. Just taking God at his word and receiving what he's promised you. Simplifying it. So whatever it is that you're doing, how can you make it more simple?
Yeah, Dan, as you were saying that, I thought of a great way to start your day, that to simplify your day, if you wake up and you're proclaiming, this is the day that the Lord has made, rejoice and be glad in it. And
Mm-hmm.
so we simplify our day by we're going to start out rejoicing.
Yeah.
We're going to be in some scripture and we're going to rejoice.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like this is do what you know to do today. So if you've started your day, you've set the pace, and then you make it simple and say, I'm just going to do what I know to do today. It kind of takes the pressure off,
Yeah.
you know, not what's happening out 6 months from now, but just allowing you to flow through your day with grace, mercy, and peace.
What I would say too, as you do those things that you know to do today, remember that there's grace available to help you do those things. You don't have to do them in your own strength. You've got God's grace and equipping and empowering in you and upon you to help you walk out those things that you know to do and do it in a graceful way. And so hopefully this is just some encouragement for people today. Let's simplify nutrition. Let's simplify your faith and how you receive from God. Just keep it very simple. Just take him at his word. Receive that promise from him. And every time you have a meal, that can be a little reminder of, hey, I'm simplifying some things here. So,
Okay. Well, Dan, I think this has been a good moment today.
Yeah.
I think we blended both of our ideas together into one,
Hmm.
and you know, it's a good day to be.
Yep.
And so, if you want to learn more about what we do, just look us up on Abundant Life. Well, go ahead, Dan. I always mess it up. So
Yeah. AbundantLifeTrainingCenter.com. You can find it all there. We got all the stuff there. So
I need
if
to
this,
write that down. I don't know
yeah.
why, but
And if this has been helpful for you today, if you can like it, share it, subscribe, do all the things, that would be helpful for us to get this out there to more people. So,
okay. Well, Dan, thank you so much today, and we're planning on being back next Tuesday, and usually we send it out the day after.
yep.
So I hope you have a blessed weekend, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Kelvin.